They say that when you don't sleep, the world starts to lose its edges. After 72 hours, the shadows in the corner of your eye begin to grow limbs. After 96, you stop recognizing the person looking back at you from the bathroom mirror. If you want to make sure you never miss another nightmare, hit that subscribe button now. Don't let the rhythm stop. Join our community of the sleepless. But for me, it wasn't the visuals, it was the sound. My name is Elias, and I live in a studio apartment that shouldn't exist. The walls are so thin they feel like they're made of wet cardboard. I can hear my neighbor to the left, a tired nurse, clicking her kettle at 4 a.m. I can hear the couple to the right arguing about grocery lists in hushed, jagged whispers. But it's the neighbor directly behind my headboard, in Unit 4C, who started the rhythm. It started 6 days ago. I was sitting at my desk trying to finish a technical illustration. The air in my room felt heavy, vibrating with the low hum of the city outside. I picked up my coffee mug. It was a heavy ceramic thing, a gift from someone I don't talk to anymore. I took a sip. I set it down on the wooden coaster. Clack. From the other side of the wall in 4C, I heard it. Clack. Identical. The same weight, the same resonance of ceramic hitting oak. I froze. My hand was still hovering over the handle of my mug. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. I picked up the mug again. This time, I didn't drink. I just held it an inch above the desk and let it drop. Clack, clack. It wasn't an echo. An echo has a delay, a fraction of a second, where the sound travels and bounces back. This was simultaneous, as if two people separated by an inch of plaster and lath had decided to perform a synchronized ritual of the mundane. Coincidence, I whispered. My voice sounded thin like frayed wire. I stood up, my knees popped, a dry skeletal sound. Behind the wall, pop. I took a step toward the kitchen. The floorboard under my left foot groaned. It was a specific high-pitched lament of aged pine. From Unit 4C, the exact same groan. From the exact same spot on the floor. I stopped. I didn't breathe. I wanted to see if the neighbor would breathe for me. I stood there in the center of my studio, a single light bulb flickering overhead, listening to the silence. But it wasn't silent. I could hear my heart. Thump, 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 thump. And then I felt it. A vibration through the soles of my feet. A rhythmic pulsing from the other side of the wall. Thump, 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 thump. The bastard wasn't just copying my movements. He was copying my vitals. I checked my watch. 3:14 a.m., the hour of the wolf. I walked over to the wall. I pressed my ear against the cold, peeling wallpaper. I expected to hear a television or the rustle of bedsheets or the heavy snoring of a man living alone. Instead, I heard a scrape. Shh. It was the sound of a chair being dragged across a floor. Slowly. Deliberately. I looked down at my own chair. It was exactly where I had left it. I reached out and gripped the backrest. I pulled it back just a few inches. Shh. The sound from 4C didn't just match mine. It felt like it was pulling the sound out of my own room. I felt a sudden, sharp chill crawl up my spine. It felt like someone had traced a finger made of ice down every vertebra. I decided to break the pattern. I grabbed a heavy book from my shelf, a hardback medical encyclopedia. I held it high above my head. I wasn't going to drop it. I was going to throw it. I wanted to hear him try to match a chaotic, unpredictable trajectory. I counted. 1, 2. I didn't throw it. I lowered my arms slowly, silently. From the other side of the wall, there was a heavy, dull thud, the sound of a heavy book hitting the floor. But I hadn't dropped mine. My breath hitched. He had anticipated me. He hadn't waited for the sound to happen. He had played the sound of my intent. I backed away from the wall, my eyes fixed on the spot where the sound had come from. My foot hit a loose pile of papers, scattering them. Rustle. Rustle. "Who are you?" I shouted. My voice felt like a physical weight leaving my throat. The wall said nothing, but a second later, a voice, muffled, distorted by the plaster, but unmistakably mine, whispered back from the darkness of 4C. "Who are you? I didn't sleep that night." Every time my eyelids grew heavy, I would hear the faint, synchronized crinkle of a pillowcase from the other side of the wall. If I shifted my weight to my left side, the springs in Unit 4C would groan in a perfect, mirrored harmony. It was a duet for one performer. By 8 a.m., the sunlight filtered through my grime-streaked window in sickly yellow bars. My eyes felt like they were filled with sand. I needed to see him. I needed to see the man who spent his life mimicking my every twitch. I stepped into the hallway. The air was thick with the smell of boiled cabbage and old dust. I walked past the communal bathroom, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. Unit 4C. I stood before the door. It was painted a dark, bruised purple, the wood swollen and warped from years of neglect. There was no nameplate, no welcome mat, just a heavy, rusted padlock and a chain that looked like it had been forged in a shipyard. I knocked. I waited, my ear pressed against the frame. From inside 4C, knock, knock, knock. The sound came from the inside of the door, as if he were standing exactly where I was standing, separated only by an inch of dead oak. "Open the door," I rasped. "Open the door," the voice replied. It wasn't an imitation anymore. It was a perfect vocal twin. It had my dry morning rasp. It had my slight hesitation between the words. I felt a surge of cold fury. I turned and ran down the stairs to the basement, where Mr. Henderson, the super, kept his office, a cramped room filled with overflowing ashtrays and keys that didn't fit anything. "Henderson!" I shouted, slamming my palm on his desk. The old man looked up, his eyes milky with cataracts. "What's the matter, Elias? Radiator acting up again?" "The guy in 4C, I panted. He's harassing me. He's copying me. Everything I do, he does. I want him out, or I want to see his lease." Henderson went still. He didn't blink. He just stared at a point somewhere over my left shoulder. 4C? He whispered. "Elias, nobody lives in 4C. Don't lie to me, I hear him. Every second. He's right behind the wall. I heard him knock back today." Henderson stood up slowly, his joints clicking like dry twigs. He reached into a cabinet and pulled out a massive iron ring. He sorted through the keys until he found one that was black with age. "Follow me," he said. We walked back up to the 4th floor. The hallway felt longer now, the shadows stretching out to meet us. Henderson didn't hesitate. He pulled a pair of bolt cutters from his tool belt and snapped the chain on Unit 4C. The metal fell to the floor with a heavy, final thud. The door swung open. The air that rushed out was freezing. It smelled of nothing. Not dust, not rot, just absence. I stepped inside, my flashlight cutting a path through the gloom. Henderson stayed in the doorway, crossing himself. The apartment was empty. But it wasn't just unfurnished. It was skeletal. The floorboards were gone in places, revealing the gray, dusty lath and plaster of the ceiling below. There was no furniture, no curtains, No life. I walked toward the wall that shared my studio. I touched it. It was cold. So cold it burned my fingertips. The last tenant in 4C left 10 years ago. Henderson's voice echoed from the hall. He was a clockmaker, obsessed with rhythms. They found him sitting in a chair that wasn't there. He'd carved his own heart out, Elias. They say he was trying to find the perfect silence inside himself. I looked down at the floor near the wall. There were marks, circular, deep indentations in the dust. As if a heavy chair had been dragged back and forth thousands of times. I moved my flashlight to the wall itself. There were no mirrors, but there was a hole. A small, jagged puncture at eye level, right where my headboard would be on the other side. I leaned in. I looked through the hole. I saw my own room. I saw my unmade bed. I saw the medical encyclopedia I had tried to throw the night before. And then, I saw an eye. An eye was looking back at me from inside my own room. I recoiled, my heart stopping for a full second. I looked around my room through the hole, but I was here in 4C. How could I see into my room if I wasn't in it? Then it hit me. The eye wasn't in my room. The eye was in the space between the walls. I looked back at the floorboards. The rhythm started again. Thump, 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 thump. It wasn't my heart. It was the building. The house was breathing. I felt a hand on my shoulder. I spun around, thinking it was Henderson. But Henderson was still in the doorway, 10 feet away. The hand was cold. It felt like a glove made of human skin, filled with ice water. I looked down. There was no one there. But the shoulder of my jacket was bunched up, as if someone were gripping it with immense strength. "Elias?" a voice whispered. It didn't come from behind me, it came from inside my own throat. "Elias, stop moving. You're ruining the rhythm." Henderson was gone. One moment he was in the doorway. The next, the hall was a tunnel of black ink. I was alone in 4C. I tried to lift my arm to wipe the cold sweat from my forehead. My arm didn't move. It stayed pinned to my side. Instead, I heard a rustle of fabric from the other side of the wall, in my own apartment. My own jacket, hanging on the hook in my room, moved. I felt the tug on my shoulder. I wasn't controlling my body anymore. The rhythm was. I felt my jaw unhinge. It didn't hurt. It just shifted. From my room, I heard the sound of my heavy glass jar of pens falling over. Crash. At the exact same time, my teeth slammed together. Crack. I was being played like an instrument. Every thud from 4C was a heartbeat I was forced to take. Every creak from my room was a step I was forced to mimic. I began to walk. Not because I wanted to, but because a sound from my apartment, the sound of a heavy boot dragging on the floor, pulled my leg forward. Drag, drag. I was back in the hallway. I was moving toward my own door, Unit 4B. My hand reached for the doorknob. My fingers felt like cold wax. I walked into my own studio. It was dark, save for the flickering light of the hallway. I looked at my bed. There was a shape under the covers. It was breathing. Heave. Ho. My chest moved in perfect sync. Heave. Ho. I walked to the bedside. My hand, trembling and pale, reached out and grabbed the edge of the blanket. I didn't want to pull it. Every cell in my brain was screaming, "Stop!" But the sound of a zipper being undone, forced my hand to jerk the covers down. The bed was empty. But it wasn't. In the center of the mattress sat a metronome, a tall wooden pyramid with a silver needle swinging back and forth. Tick, tock, tick, tock. With every tick, my head jerked to the left. With every talk, it jerked to the right. I looked into the mirror above my dresser. My face was gone. My skin had turned into a smooth, featureless surface of beige plastic. No eyes, no mouth. Just the faint, jagged crack where the thud had hit the wall earlier. I heard a voice. It didn't come from the room, it came from the thin space between the walls. Inventory update, subject 4B. Status processed, condition seamless. I felt myself being lifted, not by hands, but by the silence itself. I was being placed against the wall. My feet left the floor. I felt the cold lath and plaster pressing into my back. I became the wall. I became the echo. Now I wait. I wait for the next tenant. I hear him now. He's young. He carries a heavy box of books. He drops it on the floor. Thud. I smile, though I have no mouth. I lift my hand, my plastic, hollow hand. Thud.